Good evening. I'm Mrs. Hill and I'm going to read the story tonight called The Runaway Dinner by Ahlberg and Bruce Ingman. Now here's a story for you full of such fun and exciting stuff. You will surely love it. And the best part is it's all true. There was once a boy, Banjo his name was, yes, Banjo Cannon. Well, he was a little boy. This boy lived in a house, slept in a bed, wore all the usual sorts of clothes, scarves, socks and such, loved his cat named Mildred and his mum and dad named Mr. and Mrs. And every day, summer or winter, rain or shine, had a sausage for his dinner. On his own little plate, with his own little knife and fork and salt cellar and ketchup pot, at his own little table with his own little chair. Yes, a sausage for his dinner. Now here's the exciting bit, the unbelievable bit, though it's all true. One sunny summer's day, just as Banjo, with his knife in one hand and his fork in the other, was leaning forward and smiling happily at the thought of eating his dinner, the sausage, Melvin his name was, jumped right off the plate and ran away. Well then, of course, as you might expect, the fork ran after the sausage, the knife ran after the fork, the plate ran after the knife, and the little table and the little chair ran after the plate. And Banjo, that hungry little boy, ran after all of them. Actually, if you want the whole truth, he ran after a few others as well. You see, Banjo did not only have a sausage on his plate. That would be silly, wouldn't it? Just a sausage, one measly little sausage for a hungry boy's dinner. No, Banjo also had 3 fat peas, 4 baby carrots, and a handful of fries. Yes, and the thing is, of course, they were all on the plate as well, and when Melvin ran off, they, as you might expect, followed him. The peas, as it happened, were all boys, Peter, Percival and Paul, and the carrots, girls, Caroline, Clara, Camilla and Christabel. As for the fries, well, there were really too many to name them. Though being French, of course, they had names like Françoise, Fifi and so forth. So that's it, the absolute truth, the complete picture, see? Here they are, the whole lot of them, not forgetting Mildred the cat, Mr. and Mrs. Bruce, and Bruce the next door neighbour's dog. Nearly forgot him, though he was chasing Mildred actually, all racing down the road. Well, the first thing that happened was the carrots, all 4 of them, escaped by hiding in a paper bag. Bruce chased Mildred up a tree, and a pigeon ate Percival. Melvin, meanwhile, was running strongly on his 2 little legs. He came to a pedestrian crossing, waited for the green light, crossed the road and ran into the park. The next thing that happened was Mr. and Mrs. bought 3 ice creams. A couple of the French fries escaped by sailing away in a toy boat. Au revoir, bon voyage, hurrah! And a duck ate Paul. Banjo, meanwhile, was running strongly on his little legs, and the chair and the table were both running strongly on their 4 little legs. Actually, that's not quite true. The little chair in particular was quite unfit, quite out of puff. He had to stop and have a rest for a while. Only then an old lady came along and sat on him. She was out of puff too. So then, of course, the little chair was stuck there for some time. Meanwhile, Melvin was still racing away with the knife and the fork close behind, and the little plate, and Mr. and Mrs. and so forth. Presently, a picnicking family spotted the fork and the knife too and grabbed them. At the same time, a boiled egg named Billy saw what was going on and in the confusion ran off himself. A couple of little girls were skipping on the grass and spotted the plate and grabbed her. She was a girl plate, Saskia her name was, and started using her as a frisbee, which, as it turned out, whee! The little plate enjoyed. Now, there was a pond in the park, and that's where the toy boat was sailing, and Melvin ran round it. And there was a cricket pitch, and Melvin ran round that. The rest of the French fries stopped here, actually, and sat down to watch the cricket, and nobody noticed them. By this time, the summer's day was coming to an end, and almost everybody was out of puff. Melvin, the sturdy little sausage, slowed to a stroll, to a dawdle, and finally stopped altogether, whereupon Banjo came, that hungry little boy, and, oh dear, ate him. Well, nearly. He would have done, he really would, only just then along came his hot and bothered poor old mum. "No, no," she cried, "don't eat that." Meaning Melvin, "Don't eat that, it's been on the floor." The next thing that happened was Melvin seized his chance, ran off again and hid in the long grass, where, as it turned out at that very moment, the cricket ball named Rupert was hiding. Meanwhile, the athletic little table, urged on by the salt cellar and ketchup pot, was still racing along. His style was much admired by a number of park benchers. On the other hand, Peter, the last P, remember him, had well and truly disappeared. He had to be there somewhere. Just take a look and see if you can spot him. It was a sunny summer's evening. Home went Banjo, carried high on the shoulder of his poor old dad and his poor old mum. Bruce, the next door neighbour's dog, went home too, and down the tree came Mildred. So there we are, that's the story, full of such fun, don't you agree? And exciting stuff. Yes, of course, poor little Banjo was still hungry, hungrier than ever, in fact. Luckily, help is at hand. You see, every day or evening, rain or shine, summer or winter, after his dinner, Banjo has a plum pie for his pudding, in his own little bowl, with his own little spoon, his own little jug of custard. Yes, a plum pie, named Joyce, on this particular occasion, for his pudding. So that's all right, isn't it? The end. I hope you enjoyed that story. Goodbye.